Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion, Belaka Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water, as well as myjoyonline.com. Before we go to our main story this hour, I want to tell you about a developing story that just broke some few minutes ago. We understand that the IEA has postponed or indeed rescheduled its presidential debate, which was originally billed to come up tomorrow. I'm joined by the head of the IEA, Madam Jean Mensah, is on the line with me right now. Thank you very much, Madam, for your time here on Top Story. First of all, can you confirm this and what necessitated the rescheduling of the program?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'd like to inform your valued listeners that the program has not been postponed. It's been rescheduled to Wednesday, the 21st of November. It's coming on live at 7 o'clock at the State House, at the banquet hall of the State House. And all the invitations that we issued are still valid. And I think that we've had some discussions with the political party leadership. And we received a letter from the presidency indicating drawing our attention to the five-day national mourning that had been declared for the late Aliu Mahama. And the letter indicated that the president was fully committed to participating in the debate, but would be willing to do so after the period, the 5-day period has, elapsed, and that is tomorrow. And they indicated that they were ready to work on, to participate in the debate on Wednesday. Following that, we met with the leadership of the New Patriotic Party and the Convention People's Party. They expressed the fact that they were fully committed to the process, as they had indicated from day one. They were very keen to participate in the debate. And so we arrived at some agreement that so long as it was within 24 hours, they were willing to participate. And therefore, the parties together agreed on the 21st, Wednesday the 21st, as the day for the final presidential debate.
Oh, so it's going to come off on Wednesday. But earlier today, we heard from the PNC presidential candidate, who indeed also cited, one of the excuses he cited was the same fact of former Vice President Aliu Mahama's passing, but also said he wasn't well. Was that also factored in?
Not at all. Indeed, Mr. Hassan Ayariga has indicated that he's not well. As we mentioned in our statement, we have consulted extensively with the NTC, the NTP, and the CPP because of Mr. Hassan Ayariga's stance, where he has tried to bastardize the platform and has, said publicly that he would not participate even if he felt better. We have not consulted him.
So if this will come off on Wednesday, but it will go ahead without Hassan Ayariga, that is if he still stands by his earlier position?
Yeah, I believe he stands by it, and therefore we have not consulted him.
So listeners should assume that this will be a three presidential candidates on the stage, excluding Hassan Ayariga for now.
I believe so. I think it would be very difficult for him to go back on his word. He indicated this morning that even if he felt better, he would not participate. So I think that he's an honorable man. Let us hold him to his word.
Final question to you. What if he changes his mind and says, I'm sorry, I want to come back?
Well, then he must let the public know, because I think he communicated this through the press. And so I think he would have to do the same likewise. I mean, he would have to, use the same channel, because as we speak, he chose to, say these things on air, and we believe that he should, do the same. And I believe that the Presidential Debates Committee would take this up and look into it. But as far as we stand, he's indicated that he would not participate even if he was in good health, and he's not interested.
My attention has just been drawn to a media report that was published some 2 hours ago, saying where Ayariga is quoted as saying that he has rescinded his earlier decision, and so he's part of this debate. Are you aware of this?
We are not aware of this at all. We are not aware of this at all. No such information has reached us.
If that is the case, does that change anything?
you know that we are working as a committee, and we have members of the committee, and I am not in the position to state this. You know, it's a whole committee. They will have to look at this issue and take the decision.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your time here on Top Story. That's Jean Mensah. She is the head of the IEA. And if you just joined us here on Top Story, the news is that the IEA has rescheduled its presidential debate that was built to come up tomorrow to Wednesday. They've consulted other political parties. The ruling government says, well, they want to respect the 5 days dedicated to mourn the passing of the late vice president. That's one of the reasons why they've had to reschedule that particular debate. Now, let's return to our main story this hour, because the opposition New Patriotic Party stand accused of being behind a grand plot to pitch the ruling NDC against the church as anti-Christian and anti-God. Now, that is the position of the NDC group, the Committee for Setting the Record Straight, composed of a number of government ministers and party activists, chaired by Dr. Tony Edu, head of policy monitoring and evaluation at the presidency. Now, the group has been addressed in a news conference here in Accra, where they accuse the MPP of manipulating negative sentiments of various institutions, including the church, against the ruling party. My colleague, Anil Sabote, is there for us this evening, and he joins me live on the line. Thank you very much, Anil. What exactly did Tony Edu say?
Well, good evening, Evans. Exactly like you said, this particular Setting the Record Straight is titled Lest We Forget. And essentially what it's set to do is to be able to trace what they call right abuses and some of the wrongs predating the real MPP. And when Dr. Tony Edu, incidentally, who chaired the program, was the first speaker, he talked about the fact that the MPP has succeeded in working out the grand scheme to pitch institutions, including the media and the church, against the party to make them look as anti-God. For example, we know that the NDC and even he himself have kind of been embroiled in this back and forth issue with respect to using Dr. Otabel's voice to say, for example, that he's speaking against a political party's message on free SHS. That has led into the government even coming out to issue a directive to either dissociate itself from the advert or otherwise. So when he took his stand, he made it very clear that it is the MPP that is behind some of these things that are going on, not only the church, but the media. I believe that the media has given the NDC a raw deal, and some of these things are the unseen hands of the MPP who continue to manipulate the system to their advantage. Evan.
Thank you very much, Anil Sabote, joining me live from that press conference that I understand is still ongoing. But one of the men part of this particular committee, the Committee for Setting the Record Straight, is the Government Communications Team member, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, who's now joining me on the line. Thank you very much, Felix, for your time here on Top Story. We just had an account from the press conference as articulated by Dr. Tony Edu. What is the evidence to back his assertion that there's a certain manipulation of negative sentiments against the NDC, indeed plotted by the NPP?
Well, thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to your viewers and listeners. First of all, let me state that it would be an unfortunate bastardization of the program that took place this evening if we were to reduce this whole discussion to a single statement made by Dr. Tony Edu. Dr. Tony Edu simply stated in passing that the MPP in every election year peddles falsehood with a view to demonizing the NDC. Indeed, he recounted instances in the past where the Nkrumah government suffered similar bastardization and falsehood from the antecedents of the MPP. However, we've spoken about a number of issues.
I understand that, Felix, but nonetheless, it's an issue that came up. And when I spoke to you, we're going to look also at the economic issues that came up. But this is one I want to first clear the fundamentals on, because the key question there is evidence, really. He makes the point, on the same platform, you'll be held to account. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Well,
it is not, there certainly isn't a difficulty bringing forth evidence to back the statement that Dr. Tony Edu made. The fact of the matter remains that the MPP spokespersons have sought to create the impression that merely because some members of the NDC and indeed sections of society have criticized Dr. Mensa Otabel for statements that they felt were unsavory when responding to an advertisement sponsored by a civil society organization regarding his views on education. MPP communicators, I listened to your Crossfire program on Wednesday, where Kwabena Japon and Nana Santibedi, both members and sympathizers of the MPP, created the impression that merely because one criticizes a certain member of society, then one is against whichever organization or profession that individual belongs to. Dr. Tonedu condemned that in no uncertain terms and made it clear that as Ghanaians, we all have a right to express our views. If members of society make statements or make pronouncements that we disagree with, as members of the NDC, we have a right to state our views, and we have done so without fear or favor in the past.
You mentioned spokespersons of the NPP. Thankfully, I'm joined on the line by the Deputy Communications Director of the NPP, Samuel Oku. Thank you, sir, for your time. You heard the accusation against yourselves, not you, but spokespersons of the party. You are the Deputy Communications Director. What's your response to that?
Well, clearly, I think today the NDC were at it again. It looks like they've lost track of events. The NPP, it's not our fault that today the religious leaders are up in arms and are speaking their mind, and are also protesting about the NDC's conduct and behavior as far as this year's election is concerned. I'm not sure it's the fault of the NPP that Solomon Nkansa, the Deputy Propaganda Secretary of the NDC, and that's the boss of Felix Kwache, referring to Reverend Osuansa of Joy FM and Adom FM fame as a man who is a propagandist for the NPP. You also do have the NDC General Secretary and other spokespersons of the NDC referring to the president moderator as a criminal in Kasop. You also have Dr. Tonedu, today the man who sat in state and also spoke his mind today at the setting the record straight forum, where he called Pastor Mensa Otavo, the leader of the ICGC, a pack of contradiction and a man who lacks integrity. When you speak all these words, when you speak all these horrible words and pour down these invectives on these men of God, not too long ago, Archbishop Palmer Bakel of the Metropolitan Archbishop of Accra and Bishop Osebonsu, the head of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, in the NDC's own print and newspapers, they referred to these men of God as propagandists of the NPP when they spoke their mind concerning the biometric.
The point Felix makes is that some of you have spinned that in your favor.
When Dr. Tonedu says that Pastor Otabo lacks integrity, how did we spin it? When Solomon Nkansa says Reverend Osuansa is not a man of God, but is a propagandist of the NPP, how do we spin it when they refer to Catholic bishops as propagandists in Kasok? How do we spin it when they themselves call the president moderator as a criminal in Kasok? Where did we spin it? So the NDC themselves, because they've lost the Christendom family's vote, and I'll be surprised that with these churches that I've listed, if I see people voting for the NDC in this year's election, I'll be surprised.
But that's the same point that he's making, that when you say those things, you're obviously pitching them against the church.
But how are we pitching them against the church when they themselves were the first to fire the salvos against these avowed men of God, against these revered men of God?
Let me bring in briefly now, Mr. Felix Ofosu-Kwakye.
And indeed, enough. At least, Evans, you should also let me clarify some points that he made.
Quickly, in 30 seconds, because I don't have time, I need to wrap up on this.
He also indicated, Felix himself, the one who is saying people are spinning issues, he indicated on that platform today that Nanado has been cited for taking bribes in a court case. First of all, you should tell us which judge presided over the matter. The lawyer who conducted the case on behalf of the plaintiff was Tony Lisa. They've run this story for like 2 weeks. They've never spoken to Tony Lisa. Which court judgment cites Nanado for taking that bribe?
Okay,
however, when you have the witness going to court, he's at liberty to say anything. That does not mean the court admits that as evidence.
You've asked questions of him. Let me give him the chance to respond to it now. Mr. Ofosu-Kwakye, you're on the line, I hope. You heard him. Briefly wrap up for me on the key questions he asked of you. And indeed, I know today also, to be fair, you also address issues of the economy as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Samuel Oku's submissions epitomizes the duplicity of the NPP. When the Mabi and Johnson issue broke out, Dr. Sefayanki and others were mentioned in the court judgment as having allegedly been involved in some bribery allegations. The NPP held that as proof positive, that these gentlemen were corrupt, and insisted that they should relinquish their positions pending investigations into the matter. Today he is telling us that when you are mentioned in the court judgment, then you are not called to tender in evidence. It cannot be stated that you are corrupt. I mean, how is it that Nana Akufo-Addo condemns the payment of judgment debts and writes letters to government officials pleading on behalf of other companies to be paid judgment debts? That is what I highlighted at the press conference this particular evening. I stated that the NPP must come up with this pathetic politics where whenever someone criticizes a member of a section of our society, they claim that we are against that section of our society. I heard him frantically trying to create the impression that Christians will all walk and vote for the MPP on December 7, 2012, simply because members of the NDC have had disagreements with members of the clergy. I don't believe that Samuel Oku shows that he has respect for the Christian community when he makes such statements. He creates the impression that the Christian community do not have a mind of their own, and that they simply go and vote for one party or the other simply because a member of a party has had a disagreement with a particular member of the Christian society.
Unfortunately, Felix
has advanced beyond that.
Unfortunately, Felix, I need to say basically that I just ran out of time on this particular subject, and it's a subject that will continue to grab the attention of all of us indeed. But I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story. That's Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, member of the government communications team. Also, you had on the line Samuel Uku, who is also the deputy communications director of the NPP. My name is Evans Mensah. You want to join us again in 15 minutes on News Night, because we have more on this particular story for you. The NPP is taking on the NDC for the statement they issued today. We will hear from the chairman of the party on that. Also, you want to hear on Joy News at the 8th the issues regarding the IEA's rescheduling of its debate tomorrow. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, also brought to you by Belacra Mineral Water, as well as myjoyonline.com.